the classroom was empty except for two people. Mr. David Harrison stood behind his desk, hands trembling as he gripped the edge. Across from him, a young man in his late 20s shifted uncomfortably in a plastic chair. 10 years had passed since they'd last seen each other, but the weight of what happened hung between them like smoke that never cleared. The young man opened his mouth to speak, but David raised his hand, silencing him. His jaw clenched so tight it ached. Some wounds, he'd learned, don't heal just because time passes. Some betrayals carve so deep they become part of your bones, your breath, your every waking moment. And sitting across from the person who destroyed everything you built, everything you believed in, everything you were, that doesn't bring closure. It brings something far more dangerous. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows across David's face. He looked older than his 48 years. The young man finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mr. Harrison, I came here to..." But David cut him off again, because he wasn't ready. He might never be ready. And what was about to happen in that empty classroom would determine whether a broken man could finally let go, or whether the weight of unforgiveness would crush whatever remained of his soul. Everyone carries something, a memory, a regret, a moment that split their life into before and after. For David Harrison, that moment came on a Tuesday morning in March, exactly 10 years ago. Before we dive into what brought these two people back together, you need to understand who David was before everything fell apart. He wasn't just another teacher going through the motions. He was the kind of educator students remember decades later, the one who stayed after school to help struggling kids, who believed with every fiber of his being that he could make a difference. He taught English literature at Lincoln Heights High School, a sprawling public school in a rough neighborhood where hope was a luxury most families couldn't afford. David saw potential where others saw lost causes. But love makes you vulnerable, and vulnerability, when exploited, leaves scars that never quite fade. I want you to do something for me right now. Drop a comment and tell me what city you're watching this from. Are you in New York, Los Angeles, maybe somewhere across the ocean? I want to know where this story is reaching, because what happened to David Harrison could happen anywhere. It could happen to anyone. So comment below, tell me your city, and let's continue this journey together. David Harrison grew up in a house where silence spoke louder than words. His parents worked endless hours just to survive, leaving no energy for emotional connection. Books became David's escape, and slowly a dream took root. He would become the teacher he'd always needed, but never had. He worked 3 jobs through high school, fought his way to college, and graduated with a teaching certificate and unshakable determination. His first job was at Lincoln Heights High School, a place where most teachers were burned out and counting days to retirement. But David couldn't stop caring. He stayed late helping students, bought supplies with his own money, created a sanctuary for kids who had nowhere else to go. By his 5th year, his classroom was refuge for dozens of struggling students. He spent nearly every dollar he earned on them, lived and breathed education. Some called him obsessive. He called it purpose. Then came Marcus Webb, 16 years old, brilliant, angry, and carrying trauma that would have broken most adults. Marcus had been shuffled through foster care since age 7, in 11 different homes, attended 8 different schools. He'd learned early that attachment was dangerous, that adults hurt you, that trust was a trap. David saw past the anger to the terrified child underneath. He saw Marcus's potential, his intelligence, his desperate hidden need for someone to care. And he made a decision that would alter both their lives forever. He decided to save Marcus Webb. What David didn't understand was that some people don't want to be saved. Some people have been hurt so many times that help feels like another betrayal waiting to happen.
Marcus started attending David's class regularly. Slowly, he began to engage, raising his hand, offering insightful comments. David felt hope bloom in his chest. He'd reached another one. But Marcus was fighting demons David couldn't see. The anger simmering beneath his surface was more than teenage rebellion. It was a fundamental belief that the world was designed to hurt him, and anyone who seemed kind was just another predator in disguise. David's attention didn't feel like salvation to Marcus, it felt like grooming. And when humans feel cornered and afraid, they strike out at whatever threatens them, even if that threat comes wrapped in kindness. The accusation came on a Tuesday. David was called to the principal's office where 2 police officers waited. Marcus Webb had come forward claiming David had engaged in inappropriate conduct with him, providing detailed accounts of incidents that occurred after school hours. His mind went blank. This wasn't possible, this wasn't real. But it was. And his life was about to implode in ways he couldn't imagine. Within hours, he was suspended, barred from campus, his face plastered across local news, teacher accused of sexually abusing a student. The investigation consumed 3 months. Detectives combed through everything: his apartment, computer, phone records, bank statements. They interviewed every student he'd ever taught. Parents demanded his firing. Former students he had helped turned their backs. David stopped leaving his apartment, stopped eating regularly, stopped sleeping. He sat in darkness replaying every interaction with Marcus, searching for the moment things went wrong. The breakthrough came from Jasmine Rodriguez, another student who came forward with information that changed everything. She told investigators Marcus had bragged about taking down Harrison, angry because David had refused to change a failing grade. She provided text messages, witnesses, a timeline that contradicted Marcus's allegations. She explained that Marcus had a history of false accusations when he didn't get his way. The district attorney quietly dropped the charges. The school district sent a letter stating David could return to work. Everything was supposed to go back to normal, but nothing went back to normal. David returned to teaching, but he was different. The joy was gone, replaced by paranoia and fear. He stopped staying after school, kept his door open during all interactions, maintained careful distance. The teacher who once hugged crying students now stood rigid and cold. Marcus Webb had taken more than David's reputation. He'd taken his ability to do the work he'd been born to do.
6 months later, David resigned. He took a job at a different school where nobody knew his name. He taught the required curriculum, nothing more, kept professional distance, never stayed late. He was competent but cold, effective but uninspired. The fire that had once burned in him was extinguished. Years passed in gray monotony. Friends tried to reach him, but he pushed them away. Therapists suggested he needed to process the trauma, to heal. But healing required forgiveness, and David couldn't imagine forgiving Marcus Webb. Some things, he'd decided, were unforgivable. Then, 10 years after the accusation, David received an email. The subject line made his heart stop. Marcus Webb requests meeting. Marcus, now 26, wanted to meet. He had something important to say. He suggested they meet at Lincoln Heights High School in David's old classroom. David's first instinct was to refuse. Why subject himself to facing the person who'd ruined his life? But another part of him needed answers. He needed to look Marcus in the face and hear why he'd done it. So David agreed, which is how he found himself in that empty classroom, watching Marcus walk through the door, both of them older and worn down by what had passed between them. Marcus's voice cracked on the first word, "I'm sorry." 2 words that meant everything and nothing. David didn't move, didn't speak. Marcus continued, hands clasped so tight his knuckles went white. "I know that's not enough, but I need you to understand why." David finally spoke, his voice rough. "You're here to explain why you decided to destroy my life?" Marcus flinched, but didn't look away. "I was 16 and scared and so angry at the world I couldn't see straight. You were trying to help me. I know that now, but back then, all I saw was another adult trying to control me. So because you were scared, you accused me of sexual abuse? David's voice dripped with bitter rage. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. My foster father at the time, he was actually abusing me, had been for months. I was trapped, terrified, and I didn't know how to tell anyone. Every time I'd reported abuse before, nobody believed me. I'd been labeled a problem child, a liar. David's grip on the desk tightened. Marcus pushed forward. You were the one adult who seemed to care. And in my messed up brain, I thought if I accused you, someone would finally investigate. Someone would find the truth about what was really happening. The room fell silent. David processed these words, turning them over. So I was collateral damage in your cry for help? You destroyed my career because you couldn't figure out how to ask for what you needed? Marcus met his gaze, tears streaming now. Yes, and I've had to live with that every day since. When the investigation happened, they found out about my foster father. He was arrested, convicted. I got moved to a therapeutic placement, got actual help. But it came at your cost. David walked around the desk, standing over Marcus, all the anger rising to the surface. Do you know what you took from me? Not just my job or reputation. You took my ability to do the work I was born to do. You took my faith in students, in education, in everything I'd believed in. Marcus stood facing David eye to eye. I know, and I'm here not asking for forgiveness because I don't deserve it. I'm here because you deserve to know the truth. They stood there, two men shaped by trauma and the collision of their lives at the worst possible moment. What happened to you after? David heard himself ask, hating that he still cared. Marcus sat back down, exhausted. I finished high school in a group home, got into community college, worked through a lot in therapy. I'm a social worker now. I work with foster kids, trying to be for them what nobody was for me. The irony hit David hard. So you get a redemption arc while I teach basic English to disinterested students in a district where nobody knows my name? I don't mentor, I don't connect, I just count down to retirement because you taught me that caring gets you destroyed. Marcus nodded slowly. I destroyed a good man because I was too broken to know how to ask for help the right way. That's on me. That's my burden. David felt something crack inside, a dam breaking. Do you have any idea what it was like? The investigation, the news coverage, watching people turn their backs on me? The fear of going to prison for something I didn't do? Marcus's voice was barely audible. No, I can't imagine. I was so caught up in survival, I didn't think about what it would do to you. I made a choice I'll regret forever. David turned away, looking out the window. After they dropped the charges, I couldn't do it anymore. Every student looked like a threat. Every conversation felt dangerous. You didn't just destroy my career, Marcus. You destroyed my calling. Marcus moved closer. I can't give that back. I can't undo what I did. But I can tell you that what you were, what you did for kids like me, it mattered. The fact that you're this angry proves you were the real thing. David turned back to face him. What do you want from me? Why did you really come here? Marcus took a shaky breath. I wanted you to know the truth. I wanted to take responsibility. And I wanted to tell you that you were right about me. I am something more now. I got here by the worst possible path, but I got here partly because you saw potential when nobody else did. David felt tears burning. That's not enough, Marcus. It's not enough to know I was right when the price was my entire life. Marcus said simply, I know. It'll never be enough. But it's the truth. David walked to the door, his hand on the handle. I heard what you said. I understand why you did it. But I can't forgive you, Marcus. I don't know if I'll ever be able to. What you took from me isn't something I can just let go of. Marcus accepted this. I understand. Thank you for hearing me out. David opened the door, ready to walk away, but paused. Do you know what happened to Jasmine Rodriguez? Marcus's face softened. She's a teacher now, works at a middle school. She reached out to me, said she had never forgotten Mr. Harrison.
that you were the reason she went into education. David felt something shift. She became a teacher? Marcus smiled sadly. She said someone had to carry on what you started, since you couldn't do it anymore. She's helped a lot of kids. In a way, you're still out there teaching, just through her. And that's when David realized his impact hadn't been erased, just transformed. He'd been so focused on what Marcus took that he'd lost sight of everything he'd given before. I still can't forgive you, Marcus, David said, voice softer. But maybe someday I can stop letting what you did define everything I am. Marcus's eyes widened slightly. That would be enough. David walked to the door, then paused. Marcus, the work you're doing now with foster kids.
Are you good at it? Marcus considered seriously. I understand them in ways others can't, and I don't give up on them, even when they push me away. Someone taught me that kids who push hardest usually need help most. David's throat tightened. Those were his words from years ago. Marcus had been listening. Keep doing that work, David said. That's not forgiveness, but it's acknowledgement. David didn't sleep that night. He lay in bed, Marcus's words echoing through his mind. The anger was still there, but something else too now. Something uncomfortable that felt dangerously close to understanding. At 3 a.m, David opened the boxes he'd packed when he left Lincoln Heights and never unpacked. Inside were lesson plans, student essays, cards from students thanking him. He sat on his floor surrounded by evidence of who he'd been, and he wept for the first time since the accusation. Not gentle tears, but the kind that comes from somewhere deep and primal, the release of a decade's worth of frozen grief. The next day, David called in sick and spent hours reading through old student work. He found an essay from Jasmine Rodriguez about how holding Caulfield's anger was really fear, ending with, "Sometimes the people who need love most are the ones who make it hardest to give." He thought about Marcus, about a kid who'd been abused and abandoned, who'd learned that trust was a trap. Marcus's accusation hadn't been random cruelty. It had been the desperate act of a drowning person. Understanding didn't make it okay, but it made the pure anger harder to maintain. He found the program for falsely accused teachers he'd mentioned to Marcus and called them. The woman who answered listened as David poured out his story. "What you're describing is PTSD," she said. "The hypervigilance, the emotional shutdown, those are trauma responses. You've been in survival mode." She invited him to a support group for teachers who'd been through similar accusations. David surprised himself by saying yes. The support group met the following week. 7 teachers whose lives had been upended by false accusations. They shared their stories, and David was struck by the similarities. Different details, but the same core trauma. The loss of identity, the destruction of trust. When David told his story, including Marcus's explanation about the abuse, several nodded in recognition. An older woman said, "Mine was similar. The student was being abused at home and didn't know how to tell anyone." Over the following weeks, David attended the group regularly, saw a therapist, and slowly began rebuilding his relationship with teaching. He started staying after school more often, helping students again, always with his door open and another adult nearby. The students noticed the change. A girl named Amy, who he'd first helped, started bringing friends for homework help. One afternoon, a boy named Tyler asked to talk about his parents' divorce. Every instinct screamed at David to say no, to protect himself. But he looked at Tyler's desperate face and made a different choice. "Sure, Tyler. Let's keep the door open and talk right here, okay?" After listening, David walked Tyler to the school counselor and made the introduction. Driving home that night, David felt something he hadn't felt in years: pride in his teaching. He was finding a middle path between over-involvement and total disconnection. Maybe this balanced version, though different from his early passionate years, was where wisdom actually lived. 3 months after meeting Marcus, David received a call from the program director. Marcus Webb has been extraordinary with us. He's helped develop training materials, shared his perspective, and is working directly with teachers in recovery. I thought you'd want to know. David wasn't sure how to feel. Part of him wanted Marcus to suffer more. But another part recognized that Marcus's work was helping people who'd been hurt like David had been hurt. That evening, David wrote Marcus an email. "I heard about your work with the program. That matters. It doesn't change what happened, but it matters. I'm doing better. I'm starting to teach the way I used to, with better boundaries. I'm not sure I'll ever forgive you completely, but I'm working on not letting what you did continue to destroy me." Marcus responded days later, thanking him and explaining how he used their story to help other teachers understand the importance of boundaries and how traumatized kids needed better ways to ask for help. His therapy continued, helping him understand how his childhood experiences had made him vulnerable to the betrayal. You'd built your entire identity around being the teacher you needed as a child. When Marcus's accusation happened, it shattered your core self-concept. That's why it hit so hard. David asked, "How do I rebuild?" Dr. Chen leaned forward. "You become a wiser version. Keep the care and passion, but add boundaries and self-protection. You can be a great teacher without being a martyr." As spring turned to summer, David reconnected with former colleagues from Lincoln Heights. Most were supportive, expressing guilt about not staying in touch. He also started mentoring student teachers, sharing his experience and hard-won wisdom about maintaining boundaries while still caring deeply. One student teacher, Rebecca, asked directly about what happened. David told her the whole story, then offered advice. Care deeply, but care wisely. Keep your door open. Document everything. Connect students with counselors when they need more than you can provide. Being a great teacher doesn't mean sacrificing your personal life. One evening in July, David drove past Lincoln High School. He parked across the street and just looked at it, remembering who he'd been. His phone buzzed with a text from Amy. "Mr. H, I got into college. I'm going to be a teacher. Thank you for believing in me." David stared at the message, feeling emotions he couldn't name. Amy was becoming a teacher because of him, just like Jasmine had. His impact hadn't ended when Marcus made that accusation. He thought about everything that had happened. Marcus working with falsely accused teachers, Jasmine and Amy becoming educators, Tyler connecting with the counselor, Rebecca learning to teach wisely, all connected, all woven together into something that looked almost like meaning. That night, David started writing his story, the whole story with all its complexity and pain and gradual healing. He wrote until 3 a.m, words pouring out. When he finished, he had 30 pages of raw testimony about trauma and the impossibly hard work of healing. He shared it at the next support group meeting. Several people cried while reading. "This is exactly what I've been feeling," the older woman said. They talked for hours about forgiveness, about letting go, about rebuilding. Not everyone was ready.
Some were still angry, too hurt. David understood, but he was somewhere new, somewhere that allowed for complexity and the possibility that people could be both terrible and redeemable. The anniversary of the accusation fell on a Tuesday, naturally. 10 years to the day. David woke expecting dread and anger. Instead, he felt something strange. Gratitude. Not for what happened, but for what he'd become in surviving it. He was wiser, more careful, more aware of human complexity. Wounded, but not destroyed. That evening, sitting outside Lincoln Heights, David did something unexpected. He called Marcus. "It's been 10 years today," David said when Marcus answered. 10 years since you accused me." Silence on the other end. "I'm not calling to yell. I'm sitting outside Lincoln Heights and I realized something. You took a lot from me. My career here, my reputation, my ability to teach the way I wanted. That's real. And I'll probably carry that loss forever." Marcus said quietly, "I know. I'm so sorry." David continued, "But you didn't take everything. I'm still teaching. I'm helping students again. And if I keep letting what you did define me, I'm letting your worst moment be more powerful than all my best moments." I can't do that anymore. What are you saying? Marcus asked. David took a deep breath. I'm saying I don't forgive you. Not fully, maybe not ever. But I'm choosing to stop letting it destroy me. I'm choosing to remember I was a good teacher before you, and I can be one still. I'm believing people are more than their worst decisions, including you and me. That's not forgiveness exactly, but it's something. It's letting go. Tears in Marcus's voice. Thank you. I don't deserve it, but thank you. David felt his own tears start. You're right. You don't deserve it. But I deserve peace. I deserve to stop carrying this weight. And if letting go gives me that, I'm doing it for me, not for you. They sat in silence for a moment. Finally, David spoke. Keep doing the work with teachers and foster kids. Make something good from the worst thing you ever did. That's your redemption. I will, Marcus promised. Every day. David ended the call and sat as darkness fell over Lincoln Heights. He felt lighter, like a burden had been set down. The anger wasn't gone, the hurt wasn't healed, but they were smaller now, no longer the defining features. He'd made room for other things. Hope, connection, purpose, maybe even joy. He started his car and drove away without looking back. Not running from the past, but ready to face forward. Ready to see what came next. Ready to build a future that wasn't defined by Marcus Webb's betrayal, but by David Harrison's refusal to stay broken. 6 months later, David stood before a room full of new teachers at orientation. The district had asked him to speak about student relationships and boundaries. He'd agreed with one condition. He'd tell the truth. All of it. He started with a question. How many of you became teachers because you want to change lives? Every hand went up. David smiled. That's beautiful, but I need to tell you something nobody told me. That same passion can make you vulnerable. The open heart that allows you to connect can be weaponized against you. He told his story, the whole story, with all its pain. The room was silent as he spoke. He told them about Marcus, the accusation, the decade frozen, the healing that came slowly. I'm telling you this because some of you will have students who break your heart. Some will betray your trust. And when that happens, I want you to know it's survivable. A young man asked, how do you trust students after that? David nodded. You care differently. You care wisely. Keep your door open. Document everything. Set boundaries that protect both you and students. Remember that one person's betrayal doesn't represent all students. He spent hours answering questions, sharing advice about boundaries and self-care. By the time the last teacher left, David was exhausted, but filled with purpose. This was important work. This was meaning made from trauma. That evening, the superintendent emailed. The feedback has been overwhelming. Would you develop a professional development series about educator trauma? David stared at the email, hardly believing it. They wanted his trauma to become part of teacher training. This was vindication, acknowledgement that his survival meant something. He responded with conditions. Include perspectives from students who'd made false accusations, focus on maintaining relationships while establishing boundaries, and provide free counseling for falsely accused teachers. The superintendent accepted all conditions. David's trauma was becoming a catalyst for systemic change. He contacted Marcus, asking if he'd participate in the training, sharing his story to help teachers understand students in crisis. Marcus agreed, terrified but willing. Over the following months, David developed the training program. He interviewed other falsely accused teachers, consulted with lawyers and counselors, and collaborated with Marcus. The first session was held at Lincoln Heights High School. 70 teachers attended. David spoke first, telling his story with the perspective of someone on the other side of survival. Then Marcus took the stage. Teachers were uncomfortable, but Marcus handled it with brutal honesty. I destroyed a good teacher's life because I was a traumatized 16-year-old who didn't know how to ask for help. I'm going to tell you what I wish teachers had known about me, what red flags they might have seen. He described his behavior before the accusation: increased absences, testing boundaries, probing questions. He was looking for safety, but my trauma had taught me that caring adults were predators. When Mr. Harrison stayed consistently kind and boundaried, it confused me. A teacher asked, what could he have done differently? Marcus shook his head firmly. Nothing. I was determined to blow up my situation, and he was the safest target. The real answer is what the system should have done for me sooner. I needed intensive trauma therapy and removal from my abusive foster home. They worked through case studies and role plays. Teachers shared their own close calls. David and Marcus offered strategies, emphasizing that teacher safety and student support weren't mutually exclusive. At the end, a young teacher stood, voice shaking. I have a student now who reminds me of what you described. He's been testing boundaries, asking personal questions. After hearing this, I think he might be in trouble. What should I do? David answered carefully. Document everything. Reach out to your school counselor. Tighten your boundaries. Take care of yourself.